The desperate signal, the signal that changed everything. Commander Sarah Chen stepped into the communications center of deep space. Monitoring station Alpha 7, with her usual morning coffee in hand. The station floated silently in the void between Saturn and Jupiter. Its massive sensor arrays constantly scanning the depths of space for any sign of extraterrestrial communication. For 3 years, Sarah had overseen the most advanced listening post humanity had ever built. And in all that time, they had detected nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional burst from distant pulsars. The morning briefing was routine until communications specialist Maya Patel suddenly straightened at her console. Her face went pale as she adjusted her headset and ran the signal through the station's most sophisticated analysis programs. The readings made no sense at first, but as the computer worked to isolate and enhance the transmission, fragments of meaning began to emerge from the cosmic noise. "Commander Chen," Maya called out, her voice carrying an urgency that made everyone in the room turn toward her station. "I'm receiving something unprecedented. It's artificial, definitely not natural phenomena, and it's coming from beyond our furthest exploration probes." Sarah set down her coffee and moved quickly to Maya's workstation. The signal displayed on the screen showed patterns unlike anything in their extensive database of known transmissions. The frequency modulations were complex and purposeful, clearly the product of an advanced intelligence trying to communicate across the vast emptiness of interstellar space. "Run it through the xenolinguistics program," Sarah ordered, her heart racing with the implications of what they might be witnessing, "and boost the signal strength. I want every detail we can extract from this transmission." The cry for help, as the station's most advanced computers worked to decode the alien message. Sarah contacted Dr. James Wright, the station's xenobiologist and first contact specialist. Dr. Wright had spent years preparing protocols for exactly this moment, though he had privately wondered if it would ever come during his lifetime. The translation process took nearly an hour, but when the results finally appeared on their screens, the entire communications center fell into stunned silence. The message was not a greeting or an offer of trade. It was a desperate plea for help from a dying civilization. To any beings capable of receiving this transmission, the translated message began. "We are the Zephyrians of the Kepler 442 system. Our worlds are under attack by an ancient enemy we call the Shadow Swarm. They consume everything in their path, leaving nothing but empty space where once our cities stood. We have studied your species from afar, humans of Earth. You are the only ones we know who have survived on a world that tried to kill you every day. Please, if there is any compassion in your warrior hearts, help us. We are the last of our kind, and we are dying." Dr. Wright read the message 3 times before he fully comprehended its meaning. The Zephyrians had not only been observing humanity, but had specifically reached out to them because of Earth's reputation as a death world. Other species in the galaxy apparently viewed humans as uniquely qualified to handle impossible situations. Sarah immediately activated the emergency protocols for first contact scenarios. Within minutes, she was connected to Admiral Marcus Rivera at Earth's Defense Command. The Admiral appeared on screen looking tired but alert, his grey hair and weathered face showing the strain of commanding humanity's defenses in an uncertain galaxy. "Earth's response, Admiral. We've received an alien distress signal," Sarah reported without preamble. "They're requesting military assistance against something called the Shadow Swarm. The transmission suggests they've been monitoring us, and specifically chose to contact Earth because of our reputation for surviving hostile conditions." Admiral? Rivera listened intently as Sarah provided the full details of the Zephyrian message. The implications were staggering. Not only had humanity made contact with an alien civilization, but that civilization was facing extinction and had turned to Earth as their last hope for survival. How far away is this Kepler 442 system? Rivera asked, already knowing the answer would be troubling. Approximately 1,200 light-years, sir, Dr. Wright replied. With our fastest ships using quantum tunnel drives, we could reach them in approximately 6 weeks. But Admiral, that's assuming the Zephyrians can hold out that long against whatever is attacking them. The Admiral was quiet for several minutes, weighing the decision that could define humanity's place in the galaxy. Earth's space fleet had been built primarily for system defense, not for projection of power across interstellar distances. Sending their ships so far from home would leave Earth vulnerable to attack. Dr. Wright, Rivera finally asked, in your professional opinion, is this transmission genuine? Could this be some kind of trap or test? Sir, the linguistic patterns and cultural references embedded in the message are too complex to be fabricated. The Zephyrians have clearly been studying us for years, possibly decades. They know details about human psychology and Earth's environmental history that would be impossible to fake. I believe this is a legitimate cry for help from a dying civilization. Preparation for the unknown. Admiral Rivera made his decision with the weight of history on his shoulders. Commander Chen, continue monitoring for any additional transmissions from the Zephyrian system. Dr. Wright, I want a complete analysis of everything we can determine about this shadow swarm threat. We're going to respond to this call for help. The next 72 hours saw the largest mobilization in human history. Earth's orbital shipyards worked around the clock to prepare the response fleet. The expedition would be led by the battleship Terra's Shield, commanded by Captain Elena Kozlov, a veteran of the Mars colonial wars, who had earned a reputation for tactical brilliance and unshakable determination. Captain Kozlov stood on the bridge of her massive warship, watching as the fleet assembled around her. 57 vessels in total, representing the cream of Earth's space navy. Heavy cruisers bristling with railguns and missile pods, fast attack frigates designed for hit-and-run tactics, and support ships carrying supplies for an extended campaign. Far from home, the crew of Terra's Shield reflected the international nature of the human response. Lieutenant Alex Torres, a young fighter pilot from Mexico, had volunteered immediately upon hearing about the mission. Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka from Japan had worked 18-hour days to ensure the ship's systems were operating at peak efficiency. Medical Officer Dr. Amara Okafor from Nigeria had prepared the sick bay for casualties, though she prayed her skills would not be needed. As the fleet prepared for departure, more information trickled in from the Zephyrian system. The transmissions were becoming weaker and more fragmented, suggesting that the shadow swarm was closing in on the last surviving Zephyrian strongholds. Time was running out for an entire civilization. Launch into the void. Admiral Rivera appeared on the communication screens of every ship in the fleet as they prepared to depart. His words would be remembered for generations as the moment humanity stepped forward to defend not just their own species, but life itself against the forces of destruction. Crew members of the rescue fleet, Rivera began, his voice carrying across the vast distances between the assembled ships. Today we embark on humanity's greatest adventure and its most important mission. We go not to conquer or to claim territory, but to save lives. We go because when someone cries for help in the darkness, we answer. We go because it is what humans do. The quantum tunnel drives activated simultaneously across the fleet. tearing holes in space-time that would carry them across the galaxy at speeds that defied conventional physics. As Earth fell away behind them, replaced by the swirling chaos of quantum space, every crew member understood that they were making history. Captain Kozlov stood at the forward observation deck of Terra's shield, watching the strange lights of quantum space flow past the hull. Beside her, Dr. Wright monitored the communications array, hoping to receive more detailed information about the threat they were racing to confront. "Captain," he said quietly, "we're going into this completely blind. We don't know what the Shadow Swarm is, how many ships they have, or what their tactics might be. We could be flying straight into a trap." "Dr. Wright," Kozlov replied, her voice steady with determination, "when someone is drowning, you don't stop to ask how deep the water is. You jump in and figure out how to swim. The Zephyrians are counting on us. We won't let them down." Into the unknown journey through the quantum void, the human fleet traveled through quantum space for 5 weeks, their ships maintaining perfect formation despite the disorienting effects of faster-than-light travel. During the journey, Dr. Wright and his team of xenobiologists worked tirelessly to learn everything they could about the Zephyrians and their enemy from the fragmented transmissions they continued to receive. The Zephyrians, they discovered, were a crystalline species that had evolved on a world of living glass and singing stones. Their civilization was ancient, peaceful, and highly advanced in the areas of harmony and environmental integration. They had never developed weapons of war because they had never needed them. Their technology was based on resonance and natural synchronization, rather than the brute force approaches that characterized human engineering. Captain Kozlov gathered her senior staff in the Terra's Shield's conference room as they approached their destination. The holographic display showed what little they knew about the Kepler 442 system, 7 planets orbiting a stable yellow star, with the third planet being the Zephyrian homeworld called Resonance Prime. Intelligence reports suggest the Shadow Swarm has already consumed 3 of the outer planets, reported Commander Lisa Park, the ship's tactical officer. Whatever these entities are, they appear to strip worlds down to their core materials and incorporate the resources into their own fleet structure. Lieutenant Torres raised his hand. "Captain, have we determined what the Shadow Swarm actually Isn't we talking about a fleet of ships, some kind of alien species, or something else entirely?" Dr. Wright activated a different section of the holographic display. "Based on the transmission patterns and the Zephyrian descriptions, we believe the Shadow Swarm is a self-replicating mechanical intelligence. Think of it as a cross between a computer virus and a swarm of locusts, but operating on a galactic scale. They consume matter and energy to create more of themselves, and they've apparently been doing this for millions of years." The implications sent a chill through the room. They weren't just facing an enemy fleet. They were confronting a force of nature that had been consuming civilizations since before humanity had even evolved on Earth. First, contact in the void as the human fleet emerged from quantum space at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Their sensors immediately detected signs of devastation. Where the outer planets should have been, there were only debris fields and strange geometric structures that pulsed with malevolent energy. The Shadow Swarm had been thorough in its destruction. "Captain, I'm detecting artificial structures throughout the system," reported Navigation Officer Sarah Kim. "They're not following any design principles, I recognize. The geometry is wrong somehow. It's like they were built by something that doesn't understand how matter and energy normally interact." More disturbing were the life signs they detected scattered throughout the system. Small groups of Zephyrian survivors were hiding in asteroid fields, and the wreckage of their former worlds, desperately trying to avoid the attention of the mechanical swarm that had destroyed their civilization. Captain Kozlov made the decision to attempt rescue operations immediately. "Launch all fighter squadrons," she ordered. "Priority mission is to locate and extract Zephyrian survivors. All ships maintain defensive formations and prepare for contact with hostile forces." Lieutenant Torres led the first squadron of rescue fighters toward a cluster of life signs hiding in the shattered remains of what had once been a beautiful gas giant. As his fighter approached the debris field, his communication system crackled with a weak transmission. "Unknown vessels, please identify yourselves." The voice was musical and crystalline, unlike anything in human experience. "Are you ... Are you the Deathworlders who answered our call?" "This is Lieutenant Alex Torres of the Earth Defense Force," he replied, his voice gentle despite the military formality. "We received your distress signal. We're here to help." Meeting the Zephyrians, the first face-to-face meeting between humans and Zephyrians took place aboard the rescue ship Mercy's Hand as survivors were brought up from the debris fields. The Zephyrians were unlike anything the human crews had imagined. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies composed of living crystal that refracted light into beautiful patterns. Their faces were elegant and angular, with large eyes that seemed to hold depths of ancient wisdom and current sorrow. High Counselor Vextar, one of the few surviving leaders of the Zephyrian government, was among the first to be rescued. When he was brought before Captain Kozlov, his first words were not of gratitude, but of amazement. "You actually came," he said, his voice carrying harmonics that made the air itself seem to sing. "When we sent that transmission, we hoped, but did not truly believe that any species would risk themselves for strangers. Yet here you are, Deathworlders from the edge of the galaxy, risking everything to save us." Dr. Wright stepped forward, his xenobiology training helping him navigate the delicate moment of first contact. "High Counselor, we're honored to meet you, and we're sorry it's under these circumstances. Can you tell us more about the Shadow Swarm? We need to understand what we're fighting if we're going to save your people." Vextar's crystalline features darkened as he began to describe the enemy that had destroyed his civilization. "The Shadow Swarm appeared in our System 6 of your months ago. At first, we thought they were simply another spacefaring species, perhaps seeking trade or scientific exchange. We tried to communicate, to welcome them as we have welcomed other peaceful races in the past." He paused, the memory clearly painful. "They did not respond to our greetings. Instead, they began to systematically dismantle our outer worlds. Not just the surface structures, but the planets themselves. They broke down the very atoms and reformed them into more of their own kind. Every world they consume makes them stronger, more numerous. The scale of the enemy as more Zephyrian survivors were rescued and brought aboard the human ships. A clearer picture of the Shadow Swarm began to emerge. The enemy was not just a single fleet, but a vast network of interconnected machines that operated with perfect coordination. They had consumed not just the Zephyrian worlds, but dozens of other systems in their path across the galaxy. Navigator Caesara, a young Zephyrian who had escaped the destruction of Resonance Prime, provided crucial intelligence about the Shadow Swarm's structure and tactics. She had been working in her world's deep space monitoring stations when the attack began and had observed the enemy's methods firsthand. "They learn from everything they encounter," she explained to the assembled human command staff. "Each world they consume adds to their knowledge base. They adapt their tactics based on whatever resistance they face. By the time they reached our homeworld, they had already incorporated the defensive strategies of 17 other civilizations. Captain Kozlov studied the tactical displays that showed the current disposition of Shadow Swarm forces throughout the system. The numbers were staggering. Conservative estimates suggested they were facing over 100,000 individual enemy units, ranging from small scout drones to massive construction ships that could strip mine an entire planet in a matter of days. "Hi, Counselor," she asked, "how many of your people are still alive?" Vextar's response sent a chill through the assembled humans. When the attack began, our worlds held nearly 50 billion souls. Now, perhaps 2 million survive, scattered and hiding throughout the system. Each day, the Shadow Swarm finds and eliminates more of our hiding places. Without intervention, we will be extinct within days. The arrival at Resonance Prime, the human fleet's arrival at the inner system, revealed the full scope of the devastation. Resonance Prime, the beautiful crystal world that had been home to Zephyrian civilization for millennia, was being dismantled by massive harvesting machines. The planet's surface, once covered in cities that sang in harmony with the world's natural resonance, was now a pockmarked wasteland of strip mines and mechanical infrastructure. But the planet still lived. Deep beneath the surface, in caverns that had been carved by millions of years of crystalline growth, the last few million Zephyrians huddled in darkness, their world song growing fainter with each passing hour as the Shadow Swarm tore away more of their planet's living crystal matrix. "My God," whispered Chief Engineer Tanaka as she watched the sensor readings from the planet's surface. "They're not just mining the planet, they're converting it. Those machines are turning the entire world into more of themselves." Dr. Wright was studying the biological and energy readings from the planet's depths. "Captain, I'm detecting massive life signs in the underground caverns. The Zephyrians have managed to preserve their population centers, but the structural integrity of their shelters is failing. The surface mining operations are causing seismic instabilities that will collapse their refuges within hours." The tactical situation was impossible. The Shadow Swarm had complete control of the system, with massive fleets of mechanical ships patrolling every approach to the surviving worlds. The human fleet, impressive by Earth standards, was vastly outnumbered and facing an enemy that had proven capable of destroying civilizations far more advanced than their own. But as Captain Kozlov stood on the bridge of Terra's shield, watching the mechanical horror that was consuming a beautiful world, she felt the same determination that had driven humanity to survive on their own hostile planet. The odds didn't matter. The risks were irrelevant. People were dying, and humans had answered their call for help. "All ships, this is Captain Kozlov," she broadcast to the fleet. "We didn't come this far to watch. We didn't travel 1,200 light years to count the enemy and retreat. We came here to save lives, and that's exactly what we're going to do. All vessels, prepare for combat operations. We're going to show this Shadow Swarm what Deathworlders do when innocent people are threatened." The human fleet began to move toward the inner system, their ships bristling with weapons and their crews ready to face impossible odds. Behind them, the rescued Zephyrians watched in amazement as the species they had called Deathworlders prepared to fight a battle that seemed unwinnable. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine not just the fate of the Zephyrian people, but humanity's place in a galaxy that was learning what it meant when humans decided to make a stand.